On the first day of the Lunar New Year, I suddenly craved freshly squeezed coconut milk. Without a word, my husband went out to buy it. Unexpectedly, he suffered a sudden heart attack on the way and passed away. Overwhelmed with grief, I rushed to the hospital, only to be slapped 10 times by my mother-in-law and knocked unconscious. When I woke up, all I saw was an urn and the tens of millions in debt my husband left behind. From then on, I worked myself to the bone. And finally paid off the debt after 15 years. Barely alive, I scavenged for trash in the wealthy district. I unexpectedly saw my husband, who had been dead for 15 years, stepping out of a luxury car with a woman and child. I stopped him to demand an explanation, but he kicked me away, mocking me. "Lila Yee, you're such a fucking idiot. I just wanted to get rid of you without dividing the assets, so I faked my death. Never thought you'd be so easy to fool. Thanks to you helping me pay off the debts, our family of 3 can now enjoy a wealthy life." I was so furious I dropped dead on the spot. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the first day of the Lunar New Year. Ms. Yee, your husband Theo Gu suffered a sudden heart attack and couldn't be saved despite emergency treatment. Please come to the city hospital immediately to complete the death formalities. When I received this call again, I felt a sudden daze. Didn't I already die? I glanced up at the calendar. The first day of the Lunar New Year, 2025. I laughed. Just like in my previous life, I rushed to the hospital as fast as I could. Before I could even see Theo Gu's corpse, I was met with Nia Lee's shrill cursing. "You, Lila Yee, you jinx, you bringer of bad luck. You husband-killing wretch. My son was perfectly fine until you came along and cursed him to death. You barren hen. All you know is eating, eating, eating. And on New Year's of all times. You had to have freshly squeezed coconut juice. Love drinking it. Do you? Well, I'll let you drink your fill all at once." Nia Lee's face twisted into something ghastly, her eyes filled with a hatred so intense it seemed ready to devour me. She held a mineral water bottle in her hand and lunged at me. In my past life, I truly believed I was the one who caused Theo Gu's death. Overwhelmed with grief and guilt, I knelt there, letting Nia Lee force water down my throat while she hit and cursed at me. I endured 10 heavy slaps from her, my head spinning dizzily. He passed out in no time. I slept for a full day and night, and when I woke up, all I saw was Theo Gu's urn and a group of menacing debt collectors. Looking back now, there are many suspicious points. No matter how strong Nia Lee's force was, it's impossible that I was so fragile as to be knocked out by just 10 slaps and remain unconscious for so long. Watching her try to force me to drink water again, I suddenly realized that there must be something wrong with that bottle of water. I swiftly snatched the water bottle and smashed it hard on the ground, water splashing everywhere. "Mom, Theo is gone. How could I possibly be in the mood to drink water now?" I cried my heart out, even more devastated than she was. Nia Lee froze, clearly not expecting me to fight back. I took the opportunity to push her away and threw myself onto Theo Gu. With my ear pressed against his chest, I felt his strong, steady heartbeat. Pulling back the white cloth, I saw the face I'd recognize even if it were reduced to ashes. Thinking back to my past life, I merely mentioned offhand that I wanted fresh coconut juice, and he immediately ran out to buy it for me. Touched, I thought I had married a man who would indulge my every whim, never realizing it was just one part of his plan to fake his own death, just to make me feel guilty for his death and willingly take on the massive debt of millions. Finally, I managed to pay off all the debts, thinking I could be free from then on. Little did I know, in the end, he would still drive me to my grave with rage. Recalling the tragic experiences of my past life, the hatred in my heart surged straight to my brain. I raised my hand and slapped his face repeatedly, each strike using all the strength in my body. As I hit him, I wailed loudly, "Theo, wake up. You can't just die and leave me alone like this. You promised to make me happy. You can't go back on your word." My cries grew even more heart-wrenching, as if my heart were breaking. "We haven't even had children yet, and you're leaving like this. The Gu family will have no descendants from now on. Theo Gu, faking your death is so much fun, isn't it? In this lifetime, I will make sure you die for real, thoroughly and completely. I'll even help you hire a master to perform rituals. I'll send you straight to the animal realm, where you'll never be reborn as a human again." Seeing me hit her son, Nia Lee bristled like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. You little bitch, how dare you hit my son, and curse him to be childless too. I'll beat you to death, you jinx. Nia Lee, her aged face twisted like a demon's, lunged at me once again. I had been prepared and sidestepped swiftly to avoid her. She missed her target and crashed into the nearby table. On the table sat an uncovered thermos, and the scalding hot water poured out all over her. Ah! The pig slaughter-like screams instantly filled the entire ward. A wave of satisfaction washed over me. In my past life, you forced me to drink that unknown liquid. This time, I'll let you taste the flavor of boiling water. Nia Lee writhed in pain on the ground, cursing under her breath. You little bitch. You did this on purpose. May you die a horrible death, you goddamned. She hurled the most vicious curses at me, yet I felt not the slightest anger. Instead, my face showed even deeper concern and worry for her. Mom, are you okay? You're not thinking straight. You can't scald yourself to death with boiling water just because Theo died, as if to join him in the grave. You're like this. Theo won't rest in peace. I deliberately emphasized the word die heavily. Nia Lee grimaced in pain but still didn't forget to curse at me. You little bitch, my son isn't dead. You're the one who's dead. Your whole family is dead, Mom. You mean you also don't believe Theo is really dead, right? I pretended to be ignorant while fully aware, and continued, actually, I think the same way. Theo was usually as strong as an ox. How could he just die like that? It must be a misdiagnosis by the doctor. I'm going to find another doctor for a second opinion. I pretended to leave, and Nia Lee immediately grabbed me in a panic. You're not allowed to go. She clung tightly to my sleeve. I looked at her with feigned confusion. Mom, don't you wish Theo was just misdiagnosed and actually still alive? Nia Lee, however, said impatiently, Blair has already issued the death certificate. Could it possibly be fake? I raised an eyebrow, pretending not to understand. Blair? Who is Blair? Mom, are you close with this person? There was a hint of doubt and inquiry in my tone. Blair is, she's. Nia Lee stammered nervously, looking guilty. Sister-in-law, I'm Blair, Blair Wang. Theo and I were elementary school classmates. A voice came from the doorway of the hospital room. I turned my head to look, and immediately felt a churning in my stomach, hatred surging like a tidal wave. It was this face. In my past life, she stepped out of a luxury car arm in arm with Theo Gu, looking down her nose at everyone like a victorious queen. Blair was my first love, Theo Gu said, holding her close and casting a disdainful glance at me. Back then, we loved each other passionately, but unfortunately, I was just a poor boy. Her parents objected, and we had no choice but to break up, but I never forgot Blair in my heart. Reuniting with her was the happiest moment of my life. Marrying you was only to get you to sell the house and fund my business. Every word he spoke felt like a knife, brutally carving into my heart. If you and your first love are so inseparable, why didn't you just divorce me and part amicably? Why fake your death? I roared at the time, confronting this shameless man. Do you think I'm stupid? Divorce means splitting assets with you. He laughed arrogantly. All my wealth is meant for the woman I love and my son. Who do you think you are? Besides, if we really got divorced, wouldn't I have to shoulder all those debts myself? Luckily, you're foolish enough. So foolish that it puts me at ease. I knew you'd definitely help me pay off all the debts. Thanks to you, I've been able to live a carefree, wealthy life for the past 15 years. Shameless, so fucking shameless. I was so enraged by Theo Gu's shamelessness that I vomited a pool of blood. My vision blurred before my eyes. He just passed out in such a humiliating way. My thoughts returned to the present. At this moment, seeing Blair Wang's disgustingly hypocritical face, I had to suppress the furious impulse in my heart. As for Nia Lee, seeing Blair Wang was like finding her backbone, and she immediately calmed down. Yes, Blair was Theo's elementary school classmate. They had a very deep friendship. As soon as she heard about Theo's accident, she rushed over to help. She gave me a sarcastic glance. Unlike some people who are selfish and only think about eating and drinking all day, never caring about their own husband, I ignored Nia Lee's sneering remarks and looked directly at Blair Wang. Dr. Wang. May I see my husband's death certificate, please? My tone was icy, devoid of any emotion. Of course, I took the death certificate she handed me, carefully examining Blair Wang's signature and the hospital seal on it. I struggled to suppress the excitement surging within me. Little bitch, look carefully. My son is really dead. Don't mess around talking about misdiagnosis. I took a deep breath and continued to feign grief. Mom, you're right. Theo is really dead, so I need to fulfill his last wish. My son's last wish. How come I didn't know about it? Nia Lee frowned. I didn't answer her. Instead, I took out my phone and dialed the organ donation hotline. Hello, I'd like to donate my husband's organs. Instantly, both Nia Lee and Blair Wang froze, staring at me in disbelief. You little wretch. What are you doing? Nia Lee screamed. Are you out of your mind? Who gave you permission to donate my son's organs? Mom, I'm not crazy, I said. Theo told me many times during his life that he wanted to contribute more to society. Donating his organs after death could help those in need. I just want to fulfill his last wish. Why are you stopping me? Impossible. Theo would never say such a thing. Don't even think about casually donating his organs. Blair Wang immediately jumped in to oppose. I scoffed at Blair Wang. Dr. Wang, Theo Gu is my husband. Whether he said such things or not, I know better than you, don't I? I stared her down and said word by word, or perhaps, Dr. Wang, you were eavesdropping under our marital bed to be so certain my husband never mentioned organ donation. My words were like a sharp knife, stabbing straight into her heart. No, I don't know anything. Don't wrongfully accuse me, Blair Wang defended in panic, her eyes darting around, avoiding my gaze. The more guilty she acted, the more certain I became that Theo Gu had taken advantage of my absence to fool around with Blair Wang in the bedroom. Damn it, that bed is filthy now, it must be thrown away. Nia Lee still strongly objected, screaming hysterically, no, absolutely not. If you dare donate Theo's organs, I'll smash my head right here and die. I knew they were afraid that donating Theo Gu's organs would mean he was truly gone. I had no choice but to reluctantly give up and settle for the next best option, saying, since Mom doesn't agree to organ donation, then we won't do it. Let's take Theo to the crematorium early to have him cremated, so he can rest in peace sooner, be reincarnated early, and start a new life. My tone was calm, as if I were merely discussing some trivial matter. Nia Lee and Blair Wang became even more agitated upon hearing this, objecting in unison. No, no cremation. Their reactions were within my expectations. Feigning confusion, I said, Mom, both you and Dr. Wang are acting so strangely. Even if you don't agree to organ donation, why are you also against cremation? I intensified my tone and questioned, if we don't cremate the dead, are we supposed to let the body rot and stink at home? I pressed forward step by step, aggressive and relentless. I turned to Blair Wang again and demanded, Dr. Wang, as an outsider, what right do you have to interfere in my family's affairs? I narrowed my eyes, my tone icy. Could it be that you and Theo Gu are more than just elementary school classmates? Is there some relationship between you that I don't know about? Each of my questions exploded like a bomb in their hearts. Blair Wang panicked, stepping back repeatedly, her face pale and visibly guilty. At that very moment, 3 or 4 fierce-looking thugs suddenly burst into the hospital room. They shouted loudly, "Who is Lila Yi? When exactly is your husband going to pay back the 10 million he owes our boss?" Nia Lee and Blair Wang exchanged a glance, their eyes unmistakably filled with a hint of triumphant malice. Nia Lee couldn't wait to point at me, shrilly telling the debt collectors, "That's her, she's Lila Yi, my son's wife." She deliberately raised her voice, as if afraid others wouldn't hear. "My son left a will before he died, stating that after his death, all debts would be inherited by Lila Yi. If you want the money, go ask her for it." This old witch changes her expression faster than flipping a book. Just now she was wailing and lamenting, and now she can't wait to push me out to take the blame. Several debt collectors immediately surrounded me with menacing looks. One of them, a thug with a face full of hostility, pointed at my nose and cursed, "You bitch, you owe our boss 10 million. When the hell are you going to pay it back?" 10 million, I sneered inwardly. That bastard Theo Gu not only transferred marital assets but also left me with this big surprise. In my past life, I must have been kicked in the head by a donkey not to see through Theo Gu's vicious scheme. In this lifetime, Don't even think about making me shoulder any debt." Feigning ignorance, I put on an innocent face and said, "What 10 million? I don't know anything about it. My husband never gave me 10 million. How could I possibly pay you back?" "Stop playing dumb," another debt collector threatened viciously. "If you don't pay up today, we'll break both your legs and sell you off to Southeast Asia." Suppressing my rage, I retorted coldly, "You must be scammers. I don't even know your boss, and I'll absolutely never give you a single cent." Seeing that I refused to comply, the debt collectors flew into a rage and lunged at me, fists swinging. At the critical moment, I reacted swiftly and pushed Nia Lee out of the way. Caught off guard, Nia Lee let out a scream as she collided with the charging debt collector. The debt collector staggered from the impact and shoved her back. Nia Lee crashed heavily against the wall, her head hitting the surface with a dull thud, and blood immediately began to flow. Her eyes rolled back, and she fainted. Perfect opportunity. "Mom, you killed my mom. I'll make you pay with your lives." I cried and screamed while immediately pulling out my phone to call the police, shouting hoarsely, "Officers, help. There are illegal debt collectors here trying to kidnap and sell me to Southeast Asia." My mother-in-law almost got beaten to death trying to save me. The police rushed to the scene and quickly subdued the debt collectors, after discovering that they were professional illegal debt collectors who used violence. They were immediately taken away. At this moment, only Blair Wang and I remained in the ward. Pointing at the unconscious Nia Lee, I said to Blair Wang, "Dr. Wang, please quickly take my mother-in-law to the emergency room for treatment." Blair Wang stood still, mocking me. "You should go instead. She is your mother-in-law after all. You can't just ignore her right after your husband's death. Can you?" I sneered and questioned her. "Dr. Wang, are you really a doctor? Seeing a wounded person lying motionless on the ground, you're not the least bit concerned. How heartless. I truly doubt your medical competence and ethics. I'm going to report you to your hospital director for dereliction of duty and refusing to save a life. You don't deserve to be a doctor." I took out my phone and pretended to make a call. Blair Wang's face instantly turned pale. She frantically snatched my phone and said, "No need to report me. I'll take the aunt for all the necessary tests right away." "But," she said to me, "don't even think about messing with Theo's remains. Theo is Auntie's only son. If anything happens to his body, you won't be able to bear the consequences." Got it, got it. You'd better hurry and save my mother-in-law now." Blair Wang, fearing her identity might be exposed, had no choice but to grit her teeth and take Nia Lee for treatment. Watching their retreating figures, a cold smirk curled at the corner of my lips. "Theo Gu, it's time for you to go." Sitting in the car on the way to the crematorium, I noticed Theo Gu's ring finger twitching slightly. His brain was gradually waking up. But because the anesthesia in his body hadn't completely worn off, his limbs remained immobile. I took a closer look at the ring on his ring finger. The one in Blair Wang's hand is a perfect match to this one. This shameless couple must have been certain their plan would succeed before they dared to wear matching rings on each other's hands. I raised my hand and delivered several more resounding slaps across his face. "Theo Gu, I know your death was faked," I hissed through clenched teeth, each word dripping with venom. "And I also know that the 10 million you owe, you intended for me to pay it back. I also know that after faking your death to escape, you planned to fly away with your white moonlight, living carefree and happy. Dream on," I sneered. "Your plan won't succeed, because you're about to be cremated." His ring finger twitched again. I pulled a fruit knife from my bag. I brought this with me on purpose before leaving the house. I grabbed his ring finger, raised the knife, and chopped it off with a swift, merciless motion, then expressionlessly tossed the severed finger out the car window. "I heard stray dogs love gnawing on bones the most," I said in a cold tone, as if discussing something trivial. "He must be in so much pain." Unfortunately, the anesthesia hadn't worn off yet. He didn't even get a chance to scream. I've always been kind-hearted, so I placed that ring on his middle finger, letting him wear it to his death, something to remember in the underworld. The car soon arrived at the crematorium. I never expected so many people would be queuing at the crematorium on the first day of the Lunar New Year. A dense crowd filled the air with suffocating grief and the scent of burning joss paper. I took a deep breath. This had to be done quickly. I pulled out Theo Gu's death certificate, our marriage license, and a thick stack of cash from my bag. Could you do me a favor and open up a green channel for me? The staff member looked troubled. There are too many people today. Everyone has been waiting for a long time. I upped the ante, sliding more cash forward, triple the price. The crowd waiting around began to stir, expressing their dissatisfaction. Why can she cut in line? We've been waiting for a long time too. Exactly. Is having money so great? I was burning with anxiety. Wait one more minute, and there's one more chance for things to go wrong. Sure enough, the sharp, piercing curses of Nia Lee could be heard from a distance. Lila Yi, you damned woman. My son isn't dead. If you dare cremate him, I'll skin you alive. I'll pull out your tendons. My heart sank heavily. Blair Wang, supporting the bandage-wrapped Nia Lee, was stumbling toward them. I made a quick decision, turned around, and knelt before the staff. Tears welled up in my eyes, and I cried uncontrollably, my whole body trembling. Please, I beg you, hurry up and cremate my husband. I sobbed, my voice choked with emotion. My mother-in-law couldn't bear the shock of my husband's sudden death and has already had a mental breakdown. I pointed in Nia Lee's direction, crying even more heart-wrenchingly. First, she scalded herself with boiling water, then she started banging her head against the wall. And now she's saying my husband isn't dead and wants to take him home. Covering my face, I sobbed uncontrollably. I'm really afraid she'll go completely mad if she keeps this up. Please, I beg you, cremate my husband first. Cut off her thoughts. My hoarse cries, combined with my superb acting skills, instantly won the sympathy of those around me. The staff couldn't bear it either and quickly opened a green channel for me, sending Theo Gu's body into the cremation furnace. Everything was ready. The exciting moment has finally arrived. I could almost see Theo Gu writhing in agony amidst the flames, letting out silent screams, but just as the staff was about to press the cremation button, suddenly, damn it, whoever dares to press that button will have to deal with me. I didn't expect Nia Lee to act so quickly, nor did I anticipate her attempt to break into the staff's operating room to stop the cremation. I can't let her succeed. Today, Theo Gu must die. I rushed in right after her. Blair Wang clung desperately to my arm, shrieking, Lila, you can't do this, Theo, I swung back and slapped her hard across her hypocritical face, then I spat at her, the spittle landing perfectly on her meticulously applied makeup. Blair Wang let out a scream, clutching her face as she froze in shock. Just as Nia Lee was about to pounce on the staff member to stop him from pressing the cremation button, at the critical moment, I acted swiftly and pulled the staff member aside. Due to inertia, Nia Lee slammed heavily onto the control panel, landing right on the red button that initiated the cremation. Boom! Inside the cremation furnace, the gas ignited instantly, and raging flames suddenly surged. Nia Lee and Blair Wang's screams rang out almost simultaneously, piercingly shrill enough to make one's scalp tingle. Stop! Stop it now! Nia Lee frantically pounded on the control panel, sobbing and shouting, My son isn't dead. My son is still alive. You have to stop now. The staff were stunned by this sudden turn of events. Staring at me in bewilderment, tears silently streamed down my face as I wore an expression of utter devastation. The staff seemed to understand Nia Lee's condition, looking at her with sympathetic eyes as they patiently explained, Madam, this is a normal phenomenon during cremation. The deceased isn't coming back to life. Please accept our condolences. Condolences. Condolences my ass. Nia Lee completely lost her composure and slapped the staff member across the face. My son isn't dead. He was never dead. Behind the glass panel of the cremation furnace, Theo Gu's body slowly curled up in the raging flames. Probably the anesthesia wore off, as he suddenly sat up straight, eyes wide open, his face filled with panic, as if silently wailing, or desperately pleading for help, his expression twisted and horrifying. Did you see that? My son sat up. He's not dead. He's not dead. Nia Lee pointed at the cremation furnace, screaming hysterically. The staff remained professional, patiently explaining, this is a normal reaction of human tissue contracting under high temperatures. Please, normal reaction. Bullshit. Nia Lee cut him off, pointing at me and shrieking, It's her. She killed my son. My son was in a coma, not dead. Hearing the words fake death, I feigned shock and looked at Nia Lee, my voice trembling as I asked, Mom, what did you say? Theo faked his death. I covered my mouth, pretending to be in disbelief, but deep down, I couldn't contain my overwhelming joy. Burn, Mom, explain clearly, what exactly happened? If Theo faked his death, why did Dr. Wang issue the death certificate? I deliberately put on a puzzled expression and looked up to question Blair Wang. Dr. Wang, what exactly are your intentions? If it weren't for you issuing the death certificate, the crematorium staff would never have dared to cremate my husband. You're the one who killed my husband. I'm calling the police on you. I pointed the finger at Blair Wang. Sure enough, Nia Lee immediately glared at Blair Wang with venomous eyes. Blair Wang panicked even more. Auntie, how could I possibly have killed Theo? You know our relationship. Even the death certificate was Theo's own idea. At this moment, Nia Lee had already lost all reason after her son was burned alive. She grabbed Blair Wang by the collar and began slapping her wildly. You little vixen, it's all your fault, all your fault. You're already married and divorced. Yet you still come to mess with my son. If it weren't for your terrible idea of faking his death, my son would never have been sent to the crematorium. Go to hell, go to hell. Blair Wang screamed repeatedly as she was beaten. Looking utterly disheveled, I watched with secret delight, yet had to maintain a pained expression, occasionally letting out a few mournful sobs. Mom, what are you saying? Was it Dr. Wang who seduced Theo, and Dr. Wang who made Theo fake his death to leave me forever? I clutched my chest as if I might faint at any moment. Dr. Wang, how could you be so cruel? You're not worthy of being a doctor. I'm calling the police. I'll sue you for issuing a false death certificate, for murder. I took out my phone, pretending to call the police, but the agitated Blair Wang knocked it out of my hand. I didn't do anything. It was Theo Gu who came onto me first. Blair Wang screamed, the panic in her eyes unable to conceal her current madness. He said he couldn't forget about me. That he never loved you. He wanted to marry me but didn't want to divorce and split the assets with you. That's why he came up with the plan to fake his death. So you'd be left with guilt and debt to repay. She roared hysterically, like a cornered beast pushed to its limits. Blair Wang's words exploded like a bomb between me and Nia Lee. I deliberately feigned an expression of unbelievable grief, clutching my chest as tears streamed down my face. Mom, is this really true? My voice trembled. Laced with a sob, as if I might faint at any moment, Nia Lee's face turned ashen, her eyes darting nervously, yet she forced herself to remain composed. Lila, don't listen to that little vixen's nonsense. Without any proof, she's just slandering my son. She tried to mask her inner panic with a show of defiance. Nia Lee, don't you dare turn the tables on me. Who says I don't have evidence? I do. Blair Wang refused to take the blame and pulled out a voice recorder from her pocket. Pressing the play button fiercely, Theo Gu's clear voice came from the recorder, laced with a hint of smugness and calculation. Blair, once the fake death plan succeeds, we'll disappear together and let that foolish woman Lila Yi take the fall for my debts. The money I borrowed from the loan sharks is enough for us to live a wealthy life without worries. I'll give you the happiest life. In the recording, Theo Gu's voice and Blair Wang's coquettish laughter intertwined. Like sharp knives stabbing into my heart, what chilled me even more was that Nia Lee's voice also appeared in the recording. Don't worry, son, Mom will keep an eye on her and make sure she drinks all that water. By then, she'll obey obediently and help you pay off the debts. In the recording, Nia Lee's voice was icy and venomous, like a snake hissing with its tongue flicking. This irrefutable evidence left Nia Lee with no room for further excuses. You little bitch, how dare you keep evidence? Furious and humiliated, Nia Lee snatched the recorder from Blair Wang and smashed it violently onto the ground. The recorder was broken into 2 pieces, completely destroyed. Without these recordings, and with the death certificate issued by you, you're the only one responsible for my son's death. Nia Lee's eyes burned with a crazed flame. Ah, Blair Wang screamed hysterically, refusing to take the blame alone. Nia Lee, I'll fight you to the death. The 2 women, both out of their minds, wrestled with each other like a pair of rabid wildcats. What a spectacle. Blair Wang, being younger and stronger, shoved Nia Lee away with one forceful push. Nia Lee's already injured head hit the wall again, blood gushing out as she passed out from the pain. Blair Wang, you killed my husband, and now you're trying to kill my mother-in-law too. You murderer, I'm calling the police to arrest you. I feigned terror, pointing at Blair Wang with a tone full of fear and anger. I didn't. Blair Wang turned pale with panic, stammering incoherent excuses before stumbling away in a frantic escape. She won't escape. I've already called the police. I dialed 120 and sent Nia Lee to the hospital for emergency treatment. Of course we must save her. If such a scourge were to die just like that, it would be far too merciful for her. I want her to live, to fully experience what true despair feels like. By the time the ambulance arrived, the staff had already gathered Theo Gu's ashes into an urn and handed it to me, offering their condolences. I put on a sad face and took the urn. Little did I expect, Theo Gu's soul suddenly floated out of the urn, his face twisted in rage as he cursed at me. Lila Yi, you venomous woman. You knew I was faking my death, yet you still burned me alive. May you die a horrible death. I'm telling you, you'd better take the initiative to shoulder the debt. Go kneel and apologize to my mom and Blair, or else I'll haunt you even as a ghost. He roared at the top of his lungs, his voice dripping with venom and curses. I looked at him expressionlessly, not a ripple of emotion in my heart. I am a reborn person, one who crawled out from hell. Ghost, ha, what a joke. I pretended not to see his spirit, and left the crematorium with his ashes. Right now, I have more important matters to attend to, holding Theo Gu's death certificate, his ID card, our household registration book, marriage certificate, and other documents. I first went to the bank. I needed to investigate the financial details under his name. Only through this investigation did I realize how cruel Theo Gu had been to me. The company was clearly profitable, yet he kept claiming losses, forcing me to continuously subsidize it with my dowry. How could he deceive me like this? He had long since transferred our marital assets overseas and established a company there. This was premeditated. He used my ID to take out a loan from a loan shark. He borrowed 5 million, all spent on Blair Wang. With the interest compounding, 5 million quickly turned into 10 million. In my past life, this enormous debt weighed on me like a mountain, suffocating me, since he designated me as his sole heir. Then I have the right to dispose of everything under his name. I sold all his assets for 20 million. I'm going to take back everything that belongs to me. I took out 5 million to repay the loan sharks. Originally, they were ferociously demanding that I repay the other 5 million in one lump sum, or they would immediately break my legs and sell me to Southeast Asia. Fine. Because of that threat, I don't mind calling the police again. Let the law punish these villains. The police action was very effective. These scumbags were wiped out in one go. What a satisfying outcome. Then I went to the court. I'm going to sue Nia Lee and Blair Wang for the murder of Theo Gu. I will make them pay. As for the evidence, Blair Wang has a voice recorder. But do you think I don't have one too? Besides the evidence from the voice recorder, I also obtained the surveillance footage from the crematorium showing Nia Lee and Blair Wang turning on each other like dogs. They sympathized with my situation of being betrayed by my husband and gave me the video without hesitation. With these irrefutable pieces of evidence, Blair Wang was quickly apprehended and brought to justice. Nia Lee, covered in injuries, was also sent to prison. I spent a fortune hiring the best lawyer in the city to fight the case. I will make sure they get the punishment they deserve. Ultimately, Blair Wang and Nia Lee were convicted of causing death by negligence. Although the circumstances were not severe, they were still sentenced to 3 years in prison. In court, the two broke down in tears, blaming each other. Watching this scene filled me with immense satisfaction. This is retribution, but this is just the beginning. While I was doing these things, Theo Gu's soul was always by my side, like a persistent fly that couldn't be shaken off. He watched me sell off his assets, screaming like a madman, said he'd make sure I had nightmares day and night. Never finding peace. How laughable, when he saddled me with massive debt, when he let Nia Lee beat me, when he had loan sharks hunting me down. Why didn't he think about this retribution coming, watching his mother and beloved woman break down in tears as they were sentenced? He also collapsed into sobs while blaming me, saying he would haunt me and make me suffer for a lifetime. I couldn't care less. His curses were like the buzzing of a mosquito to me, neither painful nor itchy. I sold my old house and moved into a high-end villa. The crystal chandelier sparkled brilliantly, and beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows lay the blue sea and sky. I hired several servants to attend to me. During the day, I go shopping. At night, I look for male models. Living a life with both money and leisure is simply too carefree. But Theo Gu is really too noisy. It's time to make him disappear. Lila Yi, how dare you use my money to support your pretty boy? I won't allow it, I won't. I order you to use the money to bribe the relevant authorities and get my mother and Blair acquitted. They're so delicate. They can't endure the hardships of prison. His voice was sharp and piercing, filled with resentment and anger. Impossible, I said coldly, without even lifting an eyelid. The red wine swayed gently in the crystal glass, emitting an intoxicating aroma. What? It took Theo Gu a moment to react. Lila Yi, you can actually hear me. His ethereal figure trembled. As if unable to believe this truth, I gently swirled the wine glass, a mocking curve lifting the corner of my lips. Not only can I hear you speak, but I can also see your soul. From the day you turned to ashes, I knew of your existence. Theo Gu was both shocked and furious. He drifted around me like a trapped beast, yet couldn't lay a finger on me. Why? He screamed hoarsely, demanding an answer. You knew I was faking my death. Why did you burn me alive, Lila? Didn't you love me the most? Why are you doing this to me? His exaggerated show of affection is truly nauseating. I set down the wine glass, staring coldly into the depths of his soul. Why, Theo Gu, how dare you even ask why? If everything goes according to your plan, what's the outcome? It's me burdened with millions in debt, never able to hold my head up again, while you, your mother, and your beloved enjoy wealth and luxury. Ask me why. I'd like to ask you why. I love you, so do I deserve such an ending? Why? I roared, unleashing the fury of 2 lifetimes. A raging fire burned in my chest. As if to consume everything to ashes, Theo Gu was instantly speechless, his eyes holding a trace of something. Whether regret or unwillingness, it was hard to tell. His soul was illusory and transparent, like a wisp of smoke that could dissipate at any moment. None of this had anything to do with me. Theo Gu, the only reason I kept your soul was to let you witness with your own eyes how your wealth would vanish, and how miserably your mother and your first love would live. Does it hurt? You deserve this, I smiled, my tone as cold as frost. I've hired a Taoist priest to perform rites for you. He'll be here soon. I'll have the priest help you enter the animal realm sooner, ensuring you never return as a human again. I'll make you suffer 100 times more than I did in my past life. Speak of the devil. As soon as the Taoist priest arrived, he immediately set up the formation. Sandalwood incense burned in the censer, its curling blue smoke permeating the air. The yellow paper talismans fluttered in the air, crackling with the sound of burning. No, Lila, you can't do this. I'm your husband. The one you love most is me. I was wrong. I was truly wrong. Please spare me. Theo Gu panicked, terrified. He darted around like a headless fly, yet couldn't escape the magic circle set up by the Taoist priest. No matter what he says, I won't change my resolve. His repentance, his pleas for mercy, all came too late. The Taoist priest performed a series of spells, murmuring incantations under his breath. Theo Gu's soul let out a piercing scream, gradually twisting and deforming. Finally, it vanished completely. After seeing the Taoist priest off, I flushed all of Theo Gu's ashes down the toilet, pressed the flush button, and it all rushes down. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, 3 years have passed. Blair Wang and Nia Li, the once inseparable mother-in-law and daughter-in-law duo, did not make it to the end of their prison sentences. They fight constantly in prison. They can tear each other apart over the slightest trivial matter. Half a month ago, they fought fiercely over a single steamed bun. Blair Wang grabbed a toothbrush and viciously jabbed it into Nia Li's nostril. Nia Li died on the spot. As for Blair Wang, he was sentenced to death for intentional homicide. When I heard the news, I was visiting a friend's pig farm at her invitation. The air was filled with a faint smell of pig manure. Honestly, not very pleasant. But looking at the sea of pink piglets before me, my mood inexplicably lifted. They jostled and squeezed together, oinking and grunting, utterly adorable. Suddenly, a familiar voice rang in my ear. Lila, it's Theo. I don't want to stay in the pig pen. Save me. I froze and turned towards the sound. A little pig was staring at me pitifully, its small eyes filled with fear and pleading. I laughed. Talk about a small world. Theo Gu, I want to eat roast suckling pig. Let's choose this one, I said to my friend, pointing at the pig. Got it, my friend readily agreed. No. Theo Gu let out a miserable pig-like squeal, struggling desperately in the pigpen. At the evening bonfire feast, I watched my friend singing and dancing while eating roast suckling pig. It was absolutely delicious.